All right, so we've made our way up, and when I turn around, here's the main entrance to Mr. Lincoln's tomb, right there. Sign behind me, obviously it's open, and that's the next stop we're gonna make. We're gonna make our way inside that tomb. Let's do this. All right, so we are inside, and this is the first thing that we see when you hit the entrance. The first thing when you come in, there is somebody to greet you during regular business hours here. They will ask you to take off your hat if you're like me, wearing a cap. Video and photography is okay to use, but you cannot bring any liquids inside whatsoever. Okay? So, just to let you guys know. Okay, let's make our way over here. Okay, this statue, when you come into the memorial itself, or the tomb, this is Lincoln the soldier, Dixon, Illinois. That's what you'll see. Right now, because of COVID ramping back up again here in 2022, you are not allowed not only to touch the statues, but also they don't want you to touch the rails either, just to give you a heads up on that right now. You're better off to go to the website to get all the information. This here, what we see, is Lincoln the Ranger. Okay? There's a young Abe Lincoln on the horse, as you can see. Okay, we're gonna make our way down the hallway here. As I look, there's really nothing here along the hall except for the marble. And when this is all done, you take a look at the marble walls here. This came from different states or whatever. I'll inform you and let you know all of that once we get out of here. I don't want to do a lot of talking. They really want you to have respect and to be quiet as much as possible. So let's go here. This is President Lincoln, and this is original, or the original is actually located in Lincoln Park, Chicago. Okay? This statue that you see is Lincoln, the circuit rider, it says here. Also, I noticed as we're sitting here, as we're getting closer to the tomb, look on the walls here. We just walked down that hall from there. And then when you get to here, the gold stars that are around here. Okay? All right, let's make our way and see what is next. Shall we? All right, so now we walk in and you see Debbie. She's standing there. And then first of all, we'll turn here and go around Debbie for a second. And let's take a look at this here. Okay, you probably can hear Mason whispering behind me. That's who's talking, in case you were wondering. All right, so as it said there, you have three of the boys. There's Tad. And then over here, we have Edward, or Eddie, and we have Willie. And then, of course, Mrs. Lincoln is buried right here. And again, this is, when you walk in, this is behind, would be behind you or to your left when you're coming in here. And then, of course, we come over here and President Lincoln. 10 feet below this is where he's at. Word had it that they had used so much embalming fluid in him when he traveled from Washington, D.C. to the cemetery here in Springfield, that when they opened up his casket, not only each time at each stop, they would add more embalming fluid, but when they raised him from the original spot that they buried him here at the cemetery, the only thing that was missing was his eyebrows. Everything else of him was still intact. Nothing had changed. He had so much embalming fluid in him. And then as we go here, you can see the different flags that they have around here. There's Indiana with the star there, or stars. Okay guys, so once we leave the tomb, we come over here to our next statue, and this one is, of course, Lincoln. This is not the one that you would think you'd see in Washington, D.C. at the Lincoln Memorial. Actually, the original version of this statue is in Hodgenville, Kentucky. Okay, Hodgenville, Kentucky. All right. This one, which is directly across the last one we just saw, this is Lincoln the Debater. And this was done in Freeport, Illinois. Again, you have the next set of, I guess, hallway, you want to call it, with all the marble that is going down here. This is a circular thing that we are in. And there's Mason. We keep going, there's Debbie. And we'll make our way over to this one. Again, just like the other two rooms, this has got the gold stars all around it as well. Okay? All right, as we move here real quick, we got people coming up. This is just President Lincoln thinking, you might say. The original is at Lincoln, Nebraska. That's where that is. And right across from it, this is another statue of President Lincoln in court, as they say. And the original statue of this one is actually in Urbana, Illinois. And then we're going to make our way, because we're just about done. And Debbie's looking at something, so it must be pretty good over here. So let's take a look at it, shall we? And finally, as you walk in to the main entrance here, this is the first thing you're going to see, obviously. This is part of the Lincoln Memorial. Obviously, this is not the original, obviously, is at Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. And this is the first thing that you will see when you first come in. Okay, so So as you can see, when we went through everything, that was the first time for us to go through, which is just unbelievable. Pay your respects, you know, take the hats off, be as quiet as possible. And, you know, when others are doing what we're doing, taking pictures or videos, don't walk in front of them, you know, and don't let the kids do it. Let them know, have some respect for all others. Now, let's go through this, shall we? And yes, I am going to read a few things because I couldn't keep everything up here in my head, I've got to admit. So, shortly after President Lincoln's assassination, Henry Ward Beecher of Plymouth Church, Brooklyn, New York, paid tribute. And he is the one, along with some others, that decided even before the assassination, to come up with a burial spot for President Lincoln when the day would come, not knowing that the assassination would be 4 years later. And when that happened, they got together and they decided, let's do this now. They were hoping to start sooner, but they didn't. And here in a couple of minutes, we're going to walk and show you the original place where President Lincoln was first buried. Also, we're going to show you the same place where two men tried to rob his grave. And that's why he's 10 feet down and cemented in. We'll talk about that, okay? So let's move forward, shall we, as we continue our tour. Come on, let's go. So now, if you were looking straight at the tomb, the entrance of the tomb, we are walking on the right side of the tomb right now. And you can see there's Debbie and Mason ahead of me. And as Mason said, oh, some shade. It's 91 degrees, but the humidity is near 100 here today. Okay, so here we come around, and we're going to make our way to where President Lincoln's temporary vault was. And just to let you know, ooh, it may be over there. Let's find out. Here we go. Now, as we're making our way down to the temporary vault, as you saw, it stood on the brow of the hill about 50 yards northeast of the monument, and it was removed late in autumn of 1871. Anyway, the temporary vault held the bodies of President Lincoln, his sons Edward and William, when they were moved to a partially completed tomb, and a granite marker indicates the site of the temporary vault. So that's where we're off to. And here we are. This vault held the remains of President Lincoln from May 4th, 1865 to December 21st of 1865. It's double barred, just to let you know. So I'm through the first bars. There's the second row. As you can see, working our way toward the flooring. And there is the flooring. And people have thrown pennies and a couple of dimes in there, I've seen. But this is the original vault that President Lincoln laid in. All right, so we've seen President Lincoln's temporary tomb. So let me read you some of the information that I have for it. After his death on April 15th of 1865, his friends immediately sought permission to bury him in Springfield, and the funeral also formed funeral committee also formed an association to build the tomb, which was dedicated in 1874. In 1895, the association deeded the tomb and surrounding grounds to the state of Illinois. Okay. Now, President Lincoln's body, well, it arrived in the cemetery's public receiving vault on the hill behind and below the present tomb, which we just visited. Okay, show them that one, Mason. Where the other one, and I'll step in front over next to you here. All right, so the coffin of his son William, who died in the White House at the age of 11, also rested there, and both had traveled nearly 1,700 miles in a special railroad car by a crazy route from Washington, D.C. before the burial on May 4th of 1865 in that location that Mason is showing you. Then, of course, as we saw, the 117-foot tall granite tomb contains the bodies, one over here, of President Lincoln, his wife, and of course 3 of his 4 children, which we talked about when we were in there in the first place. Okay, and of course, like other sites, President Lincoln's tomb brings in many people from different areas. As I mentioned when we first walked in, there was a very nice young lady sitting there, first of all reminding us, because Mason and I both walked in with our hats and asked us to remove our hats. We did. Asked where we were from. Debbie had told them where we were from, and then start walking, and it was fantastic. So, and it's free, you know, it is free to come. They do like donations. Obviously they got upkeep around here, so if you get the opportunity to come and visit here at the cemetery, President Lincoln's tomb, I urge you to do so. Okay, all right, let's continue to move on, shall we? As my wife and I would always say, come on, let's go.